Level Up is a regular podcast that brings you topics to help you perform at work and in life at your very highest level. Your host is Dan Chiodo, an executive coach, corporate trainer, and author. He is president of Impact Training and Executive Coaching. And now, here's Dan.
Thank you, Jesse. Great introduction. I appreciate that. We're here to learn something today. And it's a beautiful day, as you can see. So we're on Level Up, the place to go when you want to grow. And we'll always have great guests. And our guest today was here before, so that's good too. And our topic is a really good one. It's called emotional responses. So when you think of that, does that make you cringe at all? Or what are you thinking? Emotional responses. Maybe you're thinking about how you come across and what you do. But we'll learn a lot about that today. Our guest is an administrator in the field of endocrinology and has a vast amount of experience in dealing with people. And it doesn't stop there, though, just in the medical field. She really is a lifelong learner. She knows a lot. And she also is a singer and an actor since the age of 5, a producer, a director. And so now I guess with all that, we ought to see the curtain open to introduce Marilyn Marshall. Welcome, Marilyn. Welcome back.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be back. I love talking with you, and I'm excited about this episode.
I am too. And I love
Thank you for the stellar introduction. Wow.
You are welcome. You deserve it. You deserve it. I wasn't sure because you're in the theater if you would say, okay, take 2. Let's try that again. But if you're happy, I'm happy. So, hey, let's get into our topic. Emotional responses. Why is this an important topic? Tell us.
I think right now it's incredibly vital because obviously there are so many different changes happening around us in the world, in our country, in our neighborhoods, in our homes, in our schools. Our kids are heading back to school. And also we have some things that are not so great happening. Obviously, we have the pandemic. We have people who have lost their jobs. We have folks that if you've lost your job, then maybe you and your spouse are at home all day, and maybe every now and then y'all need a break from each other. So I think there's 1,000,005 reasons why it's so vital right now.
Yes. Boy, when you mention all that, this is a good topic for right now. And I hadn't even thought about a spouse needing a break. I did ask my wife that, and she's never responded. It's been days as to whether she needs a break or not. But
I would guess that she'd say no. I know her, so nah.
Come to think of it, I haven't seen her in a few days, so I don't know. Maybe she needed that. Well, hey, let's learn more about it. So what is the emotional response communication link? Tell us about that.
So there are so many emotional responses when we're dealing, especially at home, with our spouses, when we are dealing with our kids, when we are dealing with online. We have some folks are teaching homeschooling themselves, and some are doing it online and, letting the kids learn online. And so there's all kinds of different communication than everyone's used to now. Maybe some folks are used to that, but some folks are not. So in any case, there's an emotional response too. So once my child gets off the computer, he's going to ask me questions. Mommy, what does this mean? What does that mean? I didn't quite understand. So, hey, does mom need to be right there? And what's mom's emotional response going to be because moms are overwhelmed right now. Moms are doing a whole lot. They are not only doing their regular, if they work, we have that. And then we have their cooking dinner, they're doing the laundry, they're getting the groceries, they're taking care of the kids and making sure that they're learning and growing and being, somehow having some kind of normalcy in this process. So there you have the communication, and so the child's emotional response. So then, however, you have mom's emotional response, dad's emotional response, and whoever else the kids are involved with. So there's that part. And then you have spouses who maybe are together all day because one or the other has lost their job. And so that can be stressful. And so there's got to be a way to sort of take a breath, take a moment, have a plan in place to talk to each other, to communicate, and also to give a little space and to take a moment or a 24-hour period to think about things, to process things, and then to communicate about it.
That's really good. Those are good thoughts. I picture a family together and children and parents and whoever is in the home and not having any time to themselves, which I know I find valuable, just to be able to think on your own. So that can be tough. In some cases, when this first started, when COVID-19 started and people couldn't go out of their homes, think about that, where you couldn't even get out. I know in some other countries it was that way. Our friends in the UK, they really couldn't go outside. So where do you go? How do you get away?
Absolutely. I'm thinking about that just personally, and I think that's so poignant that you would say that, because there's got to be some time. Everybody needs a hot second or a hot minute to just, like I said, take a breath and take everything in. Things have changed so much, and a lot of folks are talking right now about our new normal. We're not there yet. We don't know what our new normal is yet. So still, it is evolving and being established. And there's so many emotions that are coming into play right now. So if one spouse is working and the other spouse has lost their job, or both spouses have lost their jobs, you have feelings of frustration, anger, you have resentment, you have sadness, you have grief, you have, there's a whole lot of negatives in there. And so that's where we have to totally really take all of our, as I like to call it, brain muscle and heart muscle and combine it together and just turn it as hard as we can to survive this emotionally together.
Yes. There's something about a walk that is so special.
Yeah.
And in the business world, sometimes I will tell leaders, have you ever tried a walk and talk? And some of them have, and some of them haven't. But if you have an employee and you take a walk outside about a topic where typically you'd be sitting across from a desk, it can have a whole different outcome because you are out in nature. As you walk with them, you're partnering with them, and it can be very valuable. Same thing for spouses or significant others, whoever you're taking the walk with. I don't know what it is about that. My wife and I do that every night, and during COVID, it was practically 3 times a day, different walks, different places. We never ran out of things to say. And it's something when you get back from that walk, it's so special. So I like your thought too. The walks can be not just with a spouse or someone else. It can also be with a child, because that would be special for them too.
Definitely. And I mean, it's healing and it's nourishing and it's fresh air, which is good for everyone. But it also reminds us of the physiological aspect of all of this stress. So going for a walk, whether it's a fast walk, a slow walk, I find that a lot of times during this period, it's better, especially at the end of the day when everybody's getting home from school or work, whatever. It's best to just walk and breathe and pay attention. Listen to your body. Notice your breathing, because your breathing will indeed change, which, that changes everything all the way up to the amygdala in your brain. So it's gonna change where some of these feelings and emotions are stored, and it's going to change how you feel. It's going to change how you feel with your digestion, with food. All of these stressors that we have right now that everybody's going through, even sometimes when folks think, hey, I'm fine, but they're having maybe some gut function issues, or they're having headaches or whatever, but hey, I'm fine. Okay, cool. Let's go for a walk. Let's go for a walk and just let your body breathe. Let your body just be your body and do its thing. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's really hard to do, especially right now. A lot of us feel super protective of our families and our kids. And so we're kind of in this constant protection mode. And we've got to be able to, at some point, take a breath. Pay attention to your body language. If you do yoga, if you do meditation, if you're reading your biblical devotions, whatever, pay attention and listen and truly feel what your body's telling you, because your body is going to tell you a lot.
Right. Fitness, I think, is really important right now, because that's something that we can be doing. And as you say, listening to your body and understanding what's going on, or meditating. And again, there are some things we could do to just have some alone time, have some thinking time. I thought of something else. Do you think journaling would be good right now too?
I think that's a brilliant idea. I think that especially for kids, I feel like kids are going back to school, and I feel quite a need to focus on the kids right now. And so even 15, 20 minutes of say, hey guys, it's journaling time. So that means whatever you want to put in your journal, whether you want to draw a flower or you want to say, I had a really bad day at school and, whatever, or I'm scared. Or I don't know what's happening here. Mommy and daddy are arguing, whatever. Yeah, I think journaling is a brilliant idea, and I think that it's necessary, and it's great for each kid or each person, each adult. Have your own journal if you're cool with it. If you're cool with journaling, and just one little thing every day can really cause reflection 2 days later.
Very good. And I'm going to put a little footnote to that. Journaling is a little different than a diary. So know that journaling can be just about a topic you're thinking about. As Marilyn says, something for today. And then as you write it, it's such a good catharsis at the end, where you usually figure out something about what you wrote about. It always makes you feel good. So perhaps we add a little.
No, absolutely. Yesterday I journaled, I like unicorns with sparkles. Had nothing to do with the day, but I wanted a happy image and something to look back on. And I love to laugh at myself. So that's super easy. So yeah, it doesn't have to, as you said, it doesn't have to be exactly like a diary or about your day. Not at all. A journal is whatever you want it to be.
Beautiful. And I love what you said too about you have to laugh at yourself. I do it all the time because, and right now you just have to do that. If we don't have laughter, and let's face it, we face some really tough decisions and tough times. And as you say, you're protecting the family all the time. Or maybe we're on edge too. Like I know if my wife coughs, I'll say, you coughed. It's just a little cough, but you start thinking that could be one of the signs. So you really have to make sure that, you try to relax.
Absolutely.
In this too. There was a priest that said, I don't want the new normal. I want a better normal. And so I thought on the flip side that we could take a little time to talk about that, to talk about some of the things that are going to happen to make a new normal. So let's take a short break. This is Dan Chiodo, and you're listening to Level Up, and I'm here today with Marilyn Marshall. And I'm going to use one of her technical terms before we go on the break and say, here it is, that we're going to take a hot minute for this commercial break. This is Level Up.
Here is F45 training. The F stands for functional training, a mix of circuit and HIIT-style workouts geared towards everyday movement. 45 is the total amount of time for sweat-dripping and heart-pumping fun. With thousands of exercises in our database and an almost infinite amount of combinations, our sessions are always fresh and innovative. Put that all together, and F45 training is here to bring you one of the world's most innovative workouts. Now let's take a class. Find your local F45 studio from our locations all around the globe. Once inside, our trainers will be there to greet you and check you in. First, we'll demo each exercise while you watch from the blue track. A warm-up will follow, then it's time to find your station. Want to play-by-play? Track your heart rate with F45 Lionheart. Ready in 3, 2, 1, it's go time. F45 TV will guide you. F45 FM will move you. And our trainers will support you every step of the way. This is team training. This is life-changing. This is F45.
Welcome back to Level Up. Marilyn and I are glad that you came back. We knew that you would. And I'm Dan Chiodo. My guest today, Marilyn Marshall. And we're talking about emotional responses. And before the break, I said that we're going to talk about some of the good things that can be happening too. But I have a couple of topics that I still want to address first before we get there. And so, Marilyn, I'm going to ask you, how does all of this, these emotional responses, how does this affect anyone with a serious illness? And I know you've gone through a few things, so maybe you want to talk to that.
Sure. I think, I am cancer-free right now, so yay, thank you.
Yay.
Yay. But I haven't hit my 5-year mark yet, but in any case, the treatment that I went through was pretty significant, and it was breast cancer, but it affected my lungs. And so I went to lung therapy, I went to a pulmonologist and did everything I could so that, in my mind, so that I could maintain singing. And but it turns out it really helps, in a lot of other ways. But also, if we think about all of our diabetics out there, type 1, type 2, either way, whether it's juvenile diabetes, type 2 diabetes. My father, for example, is a type 2 diabetic, and he has tested positive for COVID for more than 2 months. I believe it is now. And he went 2 months without going outside. He's in an assisted living center. and they do their best, but they are understaffed, and it's tough. And he's 8 stories up and in a different state. So even if I went there and stood, in the middle of the street, which I'm willing to do, and scream and wave, sorry, I'm trying not to get emotional. Still, he wouldn't be able to see. So we do know that he's been really, he's been lonely. And I try to make sure he's got the groceries that he needs. I try to, if not sending videos and pictures, FaceTime, or we at least talk on the phone, something, because the only person that he is seeing is a nurse. He's on the 8th floor, so a nurse that comes in 3 times a day to deliver his meals, take his vitals, and then she's out of there because she's got so many people to take care of. And he was getting to go outside to the courtyard a couple of times, and now they are back, sequestered and isolated, and he's isolated in his little apartment because unfortunately there's an uptick in cases again. So I'm just trying to be encouraging. So for example, when he calls me, and here's the thing with our folks that are in nursing homes or assisted living facilities, the thing is, I feel like when they are by themselves and for so long, they start to reflect as much as they can. And, each of them has different issues, maybe Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, who knows? But we can't be with them. And, there was one night that my dad called me and he said, do you remember, and he was asking me all these different things. And I think it's really, really important because his emotional response to just being sequestered in his little studio apartment for 2 months alone, not having hardly any human interaction, no fresh air, his emotional response to that was, sadness and loneliness and sort of re-grieving, experiencing the grief again, sort of like a PTSD kind of response. And so I think it's important for us, while not over-exerting ourselves to make everyone happy, which is a really easy thing to do, to make sure that we just listen. Just listen. Listen to our parents. Listen to our kids. Listen to our friends and our loved ones, because this is affecting everybody so differently, and we just need to be there for each other. And I think social media in the past has been in some ways a gift where we can all communicate. But lately it's been a little bit too much for any kind of solace or communication. It's almost divisive. Well, we don't need that right now. And I'm not dissing social media, don't get me wrong, I'm out there too. But we really need as much focus on each other, meaning FaceTime, pictures, videos, Zooming, whatever we can do. So yeah, we need to really pay attention to everybody that's going through chemo right now, who's diabetic right now, who's immune suppressed right now. We got folks with ALS, we got folks with all kinds of stuff. And they feel like that they are the underdog. They're not allowed to go out because, unless they wear a mask. And so there's that whole controversy, and it's really rough. We just need to listen to them and be there for them, no matter whether you're pro-mask or not. We need to listen.
Yes.
We need to listen.
Yes, that word you've said several times, and it's so key, just to listen. and to be thankful for our blessings right now, each of us. And if we're in a situation where we can help someone else to do that, because their emotional responses, our topic for today, their emotional responses, they can all be so different. And I'm really impressed with so many people that, even though this is a rough time, really try to be optimistic if they can.
Mm-hmm.
And so even when we're talking to people who need help, maybe we can find some things that make them laugh or help them feel better about what they're doing. And I think, too, that we have so many issues that we're facing. Here's one that I was thinking about, where my wife and I were both in careers, so we were both deeply involved in our careers as our children were growing up. What about the families now where they're working at home, or maybe one spouse not working at home? However, the children have to be educated at home, so someone has to stay with them. And I just got thinking about this the other day. My heart went out, because typically it's probably going to be the women who stay home with the kids to educate them. And I thought, gosh, that means that maybe they have to get out of the career that they were in, that they loved. And so, just little things like that. You mentioned social media. And I found that lately there's so much about politics and so much religion, and it gets heated between different factions. And it was really working me up. And I found that it might be good just to pull away for a while and not comment, because some of what I see going on now is that we don't follow what Stephen Covey always used to say. I have one opinion, you have another, I must listen.
Right.
I don't see that going on as much as I think it could. And so, does that make sense?
Oh gosh, that makes so much sense. I think that this pertains to the emotional response so much, because, as you're saying, you need to listen. I need to listen. The quote from Stephen, I think that's so pertinent, because we are just getting lost in everything. In the COVID-19 crisis and all of the trickle-down effects of it, economically and every other way. Plus, it's an election year, so let's just throw that in for good measure. Right. And I think that people are, a lot of folks are so frustrated right now that I'm seeing some of the same things you're seeing, and I am not willing to argue on social media. It is just not my jam. So I feel like, again, that's where the journaling, that's where just turn your computer off, go for a walk. I mean, pick. You get to choose. We all get to choose how we're going to respond to every single thing we do, everything someone says to us, including our spouse or someone on social media or our kids, the dog. I mean, it doesn't, whatever it is, we get a minute to take a breath and choose. Mm-hmm. Okay. How am I what's my reaction going to be? And it's really hard right now. It is so hard for everybody, but you can take that hot minute and or take a hot 5 minutes, and you can decide, okay, and question. It's so important to question everything. Question, take a look at everything around you. Is this healthy for me, for my family? How is this going to affect me? Because then if I get off social media on my computer and I'm irritated because of something I've seen on there, then how is that going to affect my family? Because you're not going to the gym. Well, in some cases you are, but in a lot of cases you're not, because you don't want to wear a mask, or because a mask is required, or your gym is closed. There are just so many different things. And I find that it seems we really need to take that moment and reflect and dial it back and decide, really think about everything we say, everything we allow into our minds and that we listen to right now is even more, affects us and our families even more than ever. And you were talking about you were talking about moms being basically home more than dads. And I totally agree with you there. And moms, hey, y'all, moms, your house does not have to be perfect. Don't sweat it. If you don't get the laundry done today, it's all right. And if little Janie wants to tap dance all day on the floor that you just mopped, as long as it's dry, let her go ahead and tap dance. It's okay. The pressure, don't allow yourself to put that pressure upon yourself.
Yeah. Yep. Very sound thoughts. And I think too, I was mentioning, how do we move this to a better normal instead of just a new normal, but the better normal? Some of the things you've talked about are really things we need to think about. When you talked about breast cancer and you said that it had gone into your lungs, you still wanted to sing, and so you got some therapy for that. That, to me, is you're going to find a way. And I think to get us to the other side of a better normal, I think people have really been creative, and I like that. They're really using their brain power. And in some cases, I think you have to say, I am going to march through this and make it happen. Even dreams you had of businesses you wanted. There were two ladies in Chicago, I believe, who one had made a cheesecake, a small cheesecake, and they were at some event and the cheesecake was there and the other lady tasted it. And these were young professionals. And she said, "Who made that?" And the lady said, "Well, I did." She said, "Oh my gosh, I'd pay for that." And they got talking, and they created these personal size cheesecakes, and they call them furlough cheesecakes. She was furloughed from her job. Walmart picked them up, and it's a fabulous story. They're now being sold at Walmart. These furlough cheesecakes. And better than that,
go to Walmart.
Yeah, I know. I haven't tasted one yet, but I want to. And better yet, she decided she was going to open up a store in the middle of the pandemic, open up a store, and she did. And it showed the people very safely distancing and masks, but she's selling those cheesecakes.
Great.
And so I think, for all of us to think, it seems like it's never going to end, but it will. And on the other side of something bad is always something good. So if we can all keep that in mind.
Yes, absolutely. Let me just clarify on something you said at the very beginning of what you just said, which was so awesome. So the breast cancer that I had the cancer itself didn't go into my lungs. It was the radiation treatment that was at very high levels, because it was a rare cancer that really caused a lot of scar tissue and issues with my breathing. And I now have asthma, which, hey, I can handle that, and I adapt, as we all do. So, but oh my goodness, I love the cheesecake story. And I think that great things can, in the past, in history, great things have happened in really dark times. And a lot of times it's when we're isolated and alone, or we're, just doing stuff in the house that maybe we didn't have time for before. I don't want to say blessing in disguise, because it's such a rough time right now, but there is no reason that we can't find something positive and take something to learn and grow with during this time. There's just no reason that we can. It's here. So,
I think that's a great point to end on, because that is so true. We can learn so much from this. And what have we changed about our life that actually is a little better? We had to make this change, but it may be better than what we were doing before. So.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've had to make changes at our studio when it comes to shows that we do. But you know what? For our studio, it's not about the money. It's really for doing something to encourage the community and the arts district. So we just want to be there for folks.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So many theater people, I've seen interviews, and they all talk about that, wanting to be there for people. So that's what really makes them really so sensational what they do, that it is for the people out there. They're performing for them.
It's totally for the people. Plus, theater family is like no other, and we hate being away from each other. It's very difficult.
Very true. That's true. Hey, I hear a little dog barking in the background, and we never mentioned all the people who have adopted pets. And so, you know what? We should throw that out there too. A lot of people have.
Absolutely, yes.
So, hey, Marilyn, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Just love you. And thank you for taking your time to be here on Level Up. Appreciate it. Now that you've watched this episode, check the show notes and look at some of the things that you might be able to do. Maybe find one thing that you could change about your life to help you level up. And we sure hope this information has been informative for you today. So now, Dustin, it's time to take us out. Cheers.
If you feel like this information was valuable to you, Dan would love it if you'd click the like button and subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions or thoughts about today's episode, please leave a comment. Also, if you're a first-time subscriber, be sure to ring that bell to be notified about future episodes. To learn more about what Impact's training and development can do for you and your business, visit impactbydan.com, where you can find more information about executive coaching, corporate training, keynote speaking, and much more. Thanks so much for watching.